Welcome to CS284 Module 2. I'm your instructor, Robert McMillen, and we're going to talk about Chapter 2's Malware and Social Engineering Attacks. Malicious software, A.K.A. malware, enters a computer without the owner's knowledge or consent, spreading, concealing, and profiting off the computer's user. Wide variety of damaging and annoying software. These are all different parts of what makes malware. Viruses and worms are a part of malware. Malware is sort of the umbrella term for all different types of malicious software. And underneath that, we're going to talk about some of the different types of malware that are out there. And the first two that we're going to look at are viruses and worms. Viruses insert themselves into a computer file. It looks to reproduce itself on other computers by copying to infected files and delivers the damaging payload. So you're going to see viruses inside files that you could download from a computer program. You could download as clicking on an ad on the internet. There's lots of different ways you could get a virus on your computer. Sometimes they come from USB drives. Sometimes they come from manufacturers of a CD. So if you put a CD in your computer, Sony was got into a lot of trouble because they created a type of malicious software that infected a lot of computers. They had to pay millions of dollars in fines for that, of course. Worms are a little different. Instead of being in a file, worms are in a program that exploits other programs' vulnerabilities. So it looks to reproduce itself on other vulnerable computers through the programs or operating systems. And then it delivers its damaging payload. So slightly different way of getting to the same place. And the damaging payload could be a lot of different things. It could delete files, it could copy files, move files, alter files, all different types of things. Concealing malware. There's lots of different types of malware that conceals itself that are different from viruses and worms. One of those is a Trojan. It advertises it will do one activity, but then does something else destructive. So an example of a Trojan could be you think you're installing a program that maybe you can get your email using that particular program, but instead it looks like it's going to install an email program, but then it does something destructive such as delete your files or steal your identity. Rootkits are software tools used by a hacker to hide traces of malware and used as a launching point to hack others. A lot of times a rootkit will be installed below the operating system level, so it doesn't matter what operating system you use, you will still be infected. And the rootkits out there could go onto any operating system, such as Linux, Unix, Windows, any Macintosh. They all are vulnerable to rootkits because they can install themselves not just at the operating system level, but also below it. A logic bomb lies dormant until told to attack with a distributed denial of service or other attack signatures on other users. So one example of a logic bomb would be if you get an infected computer, you don't even realize it's infected. Maybe the antivirus is not up to date, or it's not a very good antivirus program to detect this kind of thing, and nothing really happens on your computer for a long time. And then at some point, a mothership type of server will tell your computer to turn on the logic bomb and then start attacking a website. Many denial of service attacks against companies and governments are used this way. The computers turn into zombie infected computers. The logic bomb goes off and everybody all at once attacks using the ping command against a specific target. So if we use the ping command, we can ping any IP address here and it will respond. But if you have a million computers all doing that same ping command over and over and over against any website, whether it's a government or any other large commercial entity, then it's going to bring that particular website down because it's going to run out of any kind of bandwidth to run it. Backdoors is access to a program or service that circumvents security without consent. Sometimes the backdoors are built by the programmers themselves and then sold to hackers, or the programmers use them when they want to, and then they go into wherever it is that the program is installed, and they have full access to any kind of data that sits behind it, and they're the only ones that know how to do it. Malware for profit. There are several different types out there. One of them is a botnet. These are a group of infected zombie computers, sort of like what we had similar with the logic bomb, but they're waiting for orders to attack using logic bombs or other approaches. And you can be paid to create a botnet to attack a company or a government by someone who has some reason to attack them, maybe out of vengeance or political or other reasons. Spyware is software that gathers information without consent for advertisers, which violates privacy. So when spyware gets on your computer, it looks at all the different places that you may visit, different websites and things like that, and puts cookies in your computer. And it uses the information those cookies gathered and sends off to various different advertisers so they know how to advertise to you. And then you may see pop-ups and various different things. Adware delivers advertising content that is unexpected or unwanted by the user. A lot of times it's used in conjunction with spyware. Once the spyware finds out what you normally buy on the internet, then it uses adware to deliver pop-ups that then will try to get you to buy things from those particular companies. Keyloggers, they capture, store, and possibly forward your keystrokes to an attacker for identity theft. So a lot of times these programs are installed on publicly used computers, maybe at a coffee house or various different places where you would rent time on a computer. The hackers put the keyloggers on there, and then when you go to type in your username and password to maybe a bank or other institution, maybe even email, they'll go ahead and use that information to steal your money, steal your data, or send off a lot of different email to your family and friends using your email address to possibly click on and create new infected zombie computers. Now, a lot of these different types of malware, they should be detected by antivirus programs. Sometimes the malware gets ahead of the antivirus signatures, and you end up getting a type of malware that there's nothing you can do because the antivirus isn't new enough or updated enough to protect you. There's thousands of new viruses every day, so this will definitely happen to you at some point if you use your computer enough. Other types of attacks are social engineering attacks. These are attacks that are psychological in nature. They gather information for an attack by relying on the weakness of individuals. A great example of that would be a phone call pretending to be someone in a company who forgot their password. If you sound pathetic enough, you might be able to get the person on the other line to take pity on you and give you a password. And then, of course, you use that to hack into the system. Phishing attacks send out emails pleading for information or pretending to be from a valid company such as a bank. So you could get an email from what looks like your bank, and then you click on that link and then type in your username and password, and then they now have your username and password where they can attack you. It could also be a hoax that tries to get people to perform actions such as from the internal IT department that would compromise security. So they might get an email saying the internal IT department needs you to reset your password. So type in your current password, and then you can reset it. Well, of course, that would be a hoax, and then they would try to use that information to then log into your network as you. Physical access is another type of social engineering, physically entering an area that a person doesn't belong to gain access to systems. One type of physical would be dumpster diving for legal or other documents, so people tend to not shred their documents when they throw things away. That would be a great way to gain access to a system. You could also walk into a business pretending to be a technician and gain physical access to computers. There was a bank that hired a person to go into the bank and pretend to be a technician but not have any type of credentials, saying he was a technician, and see how far he could get before anyone would ask what he would do. And unfortunately, he was able to walk into every single bank that company owned, and no one ever stopped him from installing a device that then snooped on all of their business. Now, fortunately, it was a white hat attack, so no data was actually compromised, but the owner of the bank did have a interesting conversation with every one of those bank managers. Tailgating is authorized. You follow authorized users into a building. So when somebody punches in a code into a building, they walk in, and then the attacker may go in right behind them, so they don't have to punch in the code, and then they'll have physical access to a building. Watching people enter security codes is another way of doing this. So you stand maybe across the street with a telescope or inside a building with some sort of device that zooms in and maybe a camera, and you end up watching what security code people punch in, and then you just go duplicate that. So in summary, we talked about malware, concealing malware, malware for profit, and social engineering. Let's take a look at this week's assignment. So you're going to read Chapter 2, Malware and Social Engineering Attacks. Now you're going to be clicking on some links here, and the book is a little bit outdated, so we've got some links to some of these different things, such as the rootkit revealer is not compatible with Windows 7, so you can try running GMER. So GMER will allow you to, here it is right here, will allow you to run on Windows 7, and you can write your summary from there. Another one is the all-in-one keylogger. So download the trial version. You won't have to pay anything, and you'll be able to use that and write a summary on that. And then OpenDNS has a great link to a test where you can test yourself to see if you can spot which websites are valid and which are not. After that, you take those tasks and you write a paragraph, and various different paragraphs here. And you want to make sure that you are as thorough as possible on those. You can go much more than a paragraph. I have no problem with going farther than the minimum. And make sure, once again, that you do a PDF doc or docx for your format.